Hello, everyone. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through gates so tall. They seem to touch the sky. Beyond them, a world unfolds. Grand staircases twirling like ribbons, chandeliers sparkling like captured stars, and golden halls whispering secrets of a royal past. When you step inside these opulent mansions, it feels like stepping into a fairy tale. The marble floors shine as if polished by time itself, and the walls are dressed in silks, tapestries, and paintings that tell stories without words. Every corner glows with splendor, not just the beauty of jewels and gold, but the feeling that you are walking through history, through dreams that were once lived. You wander from room to room, and each one has its own personality. A ballroom that still remembers the sound of laughter and music, a library where the air smells of old books and wisdom, and gardens that stretch wide like living paintings brushed by the hand of nature. And the best part, in those mansions, you don't just see luxury, you feel it. It's in the quiet grace of the spaces, the magic of light streaming through stained glass windows, and the way every detail whispers, you are in a place where stories were born. So if you ever get the chance, don't just look at these mansions. Step inside. Walk slowly, breathe deeply, and let every corner remind you that splendor isn't just about riches. It's about beauty, wonder, and the feeling of living in a dream. Thank you. Imagine standing before towering gates, so tall and ornate that they feel like they separate ordinary life from another world entirely. The very first step towards them feels like walking closer to a dream because the details you notice are unlike anything else. Ironwork swirls into delicate patterns. Crests and symbols stand proud, and the shimmer of gold highlights catches your eye even before the gates open. As they slowly swing apart, a breath of wonder escapes your lips without even realizing it, because what lies beyond is more than just a house. It's a promise of magnificence waiting to unfold. The path leading inside is lined with trees so carefully arranged they look painted onto the earth, and every leaf seems to shine as if they too know they are part of something grand. Even before stepping into the mansion, the journey to the entrance itself feels like a story being told step by step. The air is filled with a stillness that's not empty, but full of anticipation, as though it is whispering, "You are about to see something rare." As you move forward, the sight of the mansion grows larger, its walls stretching upward with a confidence that commands attention. Each window glitters in the sunlight like gems set into a crown, while balconies and archways peek out in playful elegance. The sheer size makes you tilt your head back, but it's not just about height. It's about presence. The mansion doesn't simply stand, it reigns. Even from outside, you can sense the weight of history, as if generations of secrets and celebrations linger within those walls. Every stone feels carefully chosen, every line carved with intention, and you start to realize that grandeur isn't always about excess, it's about meaning woven into design. Reaching the entrance, you notice doors taller than you could have ever imagined, carved with patterns that seem alive. Flowers, vines, and shapes dance across the surface, and your fingers itch to trace them, to feel the grooves where artisans once left their marks. The handles themselves gleam with polished brass, smooth and inviting, yet commanding in their form. Before you even touch them, you pause, overwhelmed by the beauty of the threshold. It isn't just a door, it is a declaration that beyond this point, the ordinary world is left behind. The soft echo of your steps on the stone floor beneath only heightens the tension, as if each footfall announces your approach to something extraordinary. When the doors open, light spills out in a glow that immediately captures your attention. Chandeliers just inside reflect the sun with so many facets that it feels as though stars have descended from the sky to welcome you. The very air changes, carrying a faint scent of polished wood, fresh flowers, and something sweet you can't quite name. Crossing that line from outside to inside feels like the moment a curtain rises at the beginning of a grand performance. Everything is brighter, richer, and far more enchanting than your imagination had painted. The staircase rising in front of you curves with grace, as though designed not just for walking, but for making an entrance. Its railings are adorned with intricate metalwork, tiny curls and flourishes that make you want to look closer and closer, noticing new details each second. The marble beneath your feet gleams with such brilliance that it mirrors your own reflection, making you feel as if you've stepped into a space where even the floor celebrates the moment. Light streams in through high windows, scattering across the hall in golden beams that make every surface glow. Your eyes wander to the corners, where even the smallest spaces hold elegance. Niches cradle statues, each one sculpted with such care that they seem ready to step down and join you. Vases overflow with blooms so vibrant they could have been picked from a dream garden, and paintings line the walls, their colors whispering tales from long ago. Every detail is intentional, every choice a celebration of artistry, and you realize that grandeur doesn't only live in vast halls and glittering chandeliers. It breathes in the corners, the accents, and the tiniest touches that make the space alive. And still, before you even fully explore, the feeling that grips you most strongly is that this mansion wants to astonish you at every step. It draws you deeper, inviting your imagination to soar higher with each glance. Standing there at the very beginning of this journey, you already know that every doorway, every turn, every corner ahead will reveal another layer of splendor. The entrance itself has already told you this place is not meant to be simply seen. It is meant to be experienced, to be felt with every sense awakened. When you walk through the mansion's entrance, it feels like slipping quietly into the pages of a story you once read as a child, where every detail shimmers with a kind of magic that refuses to be ordinary. The grand hall that greets you seems to unfold like a kingdom of its own, each step pulling you further into a realm where fantasy and reality intertwine so perfectly that you forget where one ends and the other begins. The walls rise with grace, covered in silks that ripple gently in the light, and each chandelier dangling above looks like a constellation carefully arranged to mimic the heavens. The glow is soft yet dazzling, wrapping the space in warmth that feels alive, and for a moment you believe you have wandered into a palace where every surface whispers a fairy tale. The air holds a kind of stillness, not empty but filled with anticipation, like the breath before music begins. Your footsteps echo against marble, so polished it looks like water frozen in time. And the sound only adds to the enchantment, as though the house itself is aware of your arrival. You look around and everything is drenched in splendor. The gilded frames that hold portraits of faces you do not know, yet who watch you as if welcoming you into their world. The arches that curve above like the wings of some protective guardian, and the grand staircases spiraling upward, waiting to lead you to secrets still hidden. Even the shadows seem to play along, falling in delicate patterns across the walls and floors, creating an illusion that the house is breathing softly, like it is alive with memory. Every detail is carefully woven into the fabric of the mansion's being. Golden threads embroidered into curtains catch the sunlight, scattering little sparks of light as though fairies are darting through the air. Tapestries tell stories stitched centuries ago, tales of kings, queens, and forgotten lands, and you can't help but imagine yourself as part of those stories simply by standing in their presence. The ceilings stretch so high that they make you feel small, yet not in a way that diminishes you, rather, in a way that elevates the dream of being somewhere so much bigger than your ordinary world. As you wander deeper, the corridors seem to stretch endlessly, each turn more enchanting than the last. Doors carved with intricate patterns lead into rooms where even a quick glance offers a glimpse of wonder. You pass by one chamber where velvet drapes hang heavy and rich, their folds like rivers of crimson spilling from the windows. Another room glimmers with mirrors lined in silver, reflecting and multiplying the glow of candles until it looks as though you've stumbled into a galaxy made of flame. Each space feels like a chapter in a book, each decorated not just with wealth, but with intention, as if designed to remind every visitor that they are walking inside a dream-given form. The very atmosphere of the mansion breathes fairytale enchantment. You can almost hear music lingering in the air, a ghostly echo of harps and violins that must have once filled these halls during grand celebrations. The hush of your own breath feels like it belongs to the melody, and you half expect dancers to glide past in gowns of silk and jewels, leaving behind trails of laughter like stardust. Every step you take feels guided, as though the mansion itself is leading you deeper into its story, urging you to see, to feel, to believe in the beauty that surrounds you. Even the smallest touches refuse to be plain. A vase perched delicately on a pedestal gleams with porcelain perfection, painted with scenes of gardens that might exist only in dreams. A chair tucked against a corner gleams with polished wood and velvet cushions, so soft they invite you to sink into them and imagine whispered conversations of the past. The staircases that rise before you are not merely pathways to higher floors. They are invitations to climb further into wonder, promising that what waits above will be just as enchanting, if not more so. The entire mansion feels like it was created not just to house people, but to cradle imagination itself. Every corner glows with splendor, but it is not only the glitter of gold or the sparkle of gems. It is the sense that the mansion exists to remind you that dreams can be built into walls, ceilings, and floors. The fairy tale is not just in the decoration, but in the way the place captures your heart and convinces you that you have stepped into a story where you are both guest and character, where the magic around you is as real as the air you breathe. Each room feels like it has its own soul, its own way of speaking to you, as though the mansion were not one single creation, but a collection of characters living together under the same roof. The moment you step into the first room, you are struck by how alive it feels, not in the sense of people bustling about, but in the way the room itself seems to hum with memory. A ballroom stretches out wide, with polished floors so smooth that you can almost hear the echoes of music and laughter that once filled the air. Chandeliers hang overhead, their crystals glittering with such brilliance that even in silence you imagine gowns swishing across the floor, shoes tapping in rhythm, and voices mingling in celebration. The mirrors lining the walls reflect endless versions of the space, as if the room wants to remind you that joy does not fade, it multiplies, carrying on through every reflection. Then you wander into a library, and the feeling shifts entirely. The noise and grandeur of the ballroom fall away, replaced by the hush of wisdom and stories. Rows upon rows of shelves tower high, cradling leather, bound books whose spines are cracked with age but strong with dignity. The scent of paper and ink wraps around you, grounding you in a world where knowledge itself is the treasure. A heavy wooden table rests at the center, its surface polished but marked by the faint scratches of quills that once hurried across parchment. The room feels solemn, steady, as though it watches over centuries of secrets, keeping them safe for whoever dares to step inside. Light streams in through tall windows, catching dust motes that drift lazily in the air, like whispers of thoughts still floating between the pages. In this room, you are not meant to dance. You are meant to dream in silence. A drawing room offers another personality, one of charm and conversation. Plush chairs are arranged in perfect circles, encouraging guests to face one another, as if to say that here, words are as precious as jewels. The fabrics of the cushions are rich in color, deep burgundy and emerald green, their textures woven with threads of gold that glimmer when touched by the light of the fireplace. Portraits gaze down from the walls, their eyes painted so vividly that it feels like they are listening in on every exchange, perhaps even ready to join. The air feels lighter here, more playful, as though this room exists to remind you of the importance of laughter, of storytelling, of gathering together not just for grandeur but for closeness. In another part of the mansion, a music room waits. Instruments rest proudly, each one a piece of art as much as a tool for sound. A grand piano gleams in the center, its keys whispering an invitation to be played, its curves catching the light like a polished jewel. Violins and harps stand ready, their strings still vibrating with the memory of past performances. The walls here are softer, padded with velvet to carry the sound and hold it close, so that every note feels intimate, as if the music belongs to the very heart of the house. Standing there, you imagine melodies lingering in the air, faint and haunting, as though the music room never truly lets a song end. Even the dining hall has its own story to tell. A table stretches endlessly, covered in fine cloth embroidered with patterns delicate as lace, its surface dotted with candle holders that once flickered with golden flames. Chairs line the sides, each carved with precision, waiting for guests to gather in celebration of feasts, both humble and grand. The room feels rich, yes, but it also feels generous, like a place built not for display but for sharing, for bringing people together to eat, to talk, to celebrate the act of living. The ceilings arch high with painted murals of skies and gardens, as though reminding everyone who sat below that meals are not just about food. They are about savoring beauty and connection. And then, just when you think you have understood the mansion's rhythm, you stumble into a room designed for quiet reflection. Perhaps it is a small chamber tucked away, with soft rugs underfoot and gentle light seeping through stained glass that paints the walls with colors of the rainbow. A simple chair waits in the corner, angled toward a window that frames a view of the gardens outside. The room feels still, peaceful, a sanctuary from the grandeur of all the other spaces. Its personality is softer, humbler, reminding you that even in a mansion of splendor, there must be places to rest, to pause, to breathe. Every room is different, yet together they weave a symphony of experiences, each note distinct but all part of the same grand melody. The ballroom sings of joy, the library whispers wisdom, the drawing room hums with conversation, the music room echoes with melodies, the dining hall glows with abundance, and the quiet chamber soothes with peace. The mansion is not one voice but many, each room a storyteller waiting for you to step inside and listen. The splendor of the mansion does not rest only in what the eyes can see, but also in what the heart can feel, because beauty here is more than surface. As you wander through its vast halls, the golden glow of chandeliers may dazzle you, but what lingers longer is the sense of time stitched into every detail. Each arch, each carving, each stone bears the mark of hands that shaped them long ago, and in their presence, you feel connected not just to a place, but to the people who once imagined and built it. The splendor is not only in the richness of materials, but in the weight of history they carry, as though the walls are alive with quiet voices that still whisper their stories to anyone willing to listen. Walking across the marble floors, your reflection flickers faintly beneath your feet, reminding you that you are a visitor in a space that has seen countless others before you. The polished stone holds echoes of footsteps from centuries gone, some heavy with authority, others light with joy, each one leaving behind an invisible trace. The floor is not merely beautiful, it is a keeper of memory, and in its smoothness you sense the passage of time. Even the air feels textured with history, holding both the freshness of flowers brought in daily and the faint, unshakable scent of age that clings like a gentle reminder of permanence. The grandeur of the ceilings above, painted with sprawling murals and trimmed in gold, is overwhelming at first glance. Yet the longer you look, the more you notice the way the colors soften into one another, the brushstrokes left behind by artists whose skill was not just technical, but emotional. They painted skies, angels, gardens, and heavens not just to impress, but to inspire, to make the viewer tilt their head upward and remember something larger than themselves. Splendor is not just in the gleam of gold, it is in the way such details awaken wonder, making you feel as though the space was created not simply to house people, but to elevate their spirits. Even the light here plays its part in the symphony of beauty and history. Morning sunlight filters through tall windows, falling onto the tapestries and making them glow like living fire. By evening, candlelight flickers across gilded frames and sends shadows dancing across carved pillars, reminding you that these halls have been illuminated in countless ways throughout the years. The light itself becomes a storyteller, shifting the mood of the mansion from soft and serene to grand and dramatic, carrying with it the suggestion that splendor is not a static thing but something alive, constantly changing with time. As you move deeper inside, the tapestries hanging from the walls reveal their details to you. They are not simply fabric, not simply decoration. They are threads spun together across centuries, dyed in colors that still breathe life even after so much time. They tell stories of battles, of triumphs, of love and devotion, woven not just to impress guests, but to preserve history in fibers. When you stand before them, you cannot help but feel the passage of hands across looms, the patience of hours stretched into days, the dedication of those who believed beauty itself was worth capturing forever. In them, you see not just images, but the persistence of human effort. The portraits gazing down from gilded frames are another kind of history, each one capturing more than a likeness. Their eyes seem alive, their expressions shifting as you move past them, as though they are still keeping watch. You do not know their names, but their presence makes you wonder about their lives, their joys, their sorrows, their roles in shaping the life of the mansion. They are splendor in a different form, not jewels or gold, but a kind of immortality granted through paint and canvas, a reminder that beauty is also about remembering those who came before. Even the furniture holds traces of history in its form. The carved wood of a chair bears the marks of chisels, its smooth arms polished not only by tools, but by years of hands resting there. Tables gleam with lacquer that reflects light in a way that feels both new and ancient, as though they have always been waiting for the next gathering. Their presence is more than luxurious, it is grounding, because each piece has seen life unfold around it, bearing witness to the stories told in laughter, in whispers, in silence. Splendor here is also in the small details most might overlook. A delicate doorknob, cool and smooth to the touch, carries the fingerprints of generations who turned it to open the same door. A stair railing, curled with intricate metalwork, has steadied countless hands, both hurried and slow. Each of these details, so easily passed by, glows with history just as much as the grandeur displays, and together they remind you that beauty is not always in the obvious, but in the layers of time that have been carefully preserved. What surrounds you is not just luxury designed to impress, but a woven tapestry of art, craftsmanship, and memory. Every piece chosen with care, not simply to display wealth, but to tell a story of endurance and grace. In the glow of gold and the hush of age, you begin to see that splendor is never only about what is shining before your eyes. It is about what has survived, what has been cherished, and what continues to live on in the silence of the walls and the echoes of the halls. Stepping inside feels like stepping into a dream, one that unfolds slowly, layer by layer, until you are no longer sure where reality ends and imagination begins. The moment your foot crosses the threshold, the world you knew outside seems to fade away, replaced by something brighter, softer, and far more enchanting. The light seems different here, spilling across the floors in golden beams that dance along the walls, filling every corner with a glow that feels almost otherworldly. The silence is not empty but alive, a kind of hushed reverence that makes every sound you make feel significant, like each step is part of a story being written as you move through the space. Every corner holds a surprise, and the mansion seems determined to remind you that wonder is not confined to one single view, but scattered everywhere like hidden treasures waiting to be found. A turn of the hallway reveals alcoves filled with statues so lifelike that you half expect them to move, their marble eyes catching light in a way that suggests thought and presence. The curves of staircases beckon you to climb them, their railings polished smooth, as if countless hands before yours had taken the same path. Even the shadows play along, stretching and shifting in ways that make each space feel alive, as though the house itself is breathing. As you walk further, you notice how seamlessly the mansion blends grandeur with intimacy. Large halls open up like vast canvases painted with light and color, but then they give way to small, tucked, away spaces where time seems to stand still. In those quiet corners, the splendor feels softer, more personal, as though the house is leaning in to whisper secrets meant only for you. A small window lets in a stream of sunlight that paints the floor with patterns of stained glass, and you pause, entranced by how something so simple can feel like pure magic. Here, the dream does not overwhelm, it comforts, wrapping you in a glow that makes you feel safe within its embrace. Moving from room to room, the dream deepens. A dining hall opens wide, its table stretching endlessly forward, lined with candles that look ready to flicker to life at the strike of a match. For a moment, you imagine laughter filling the air, voices rising in joy, the scent of feasts drifting from platters that once filled this very space. Yet as you stand in the stillness, you realize that the dream lies not just in imagining the past, but in feeling the presence of so much life woven into the walls. The mansion is not just a place. It is an experience, a living memory that asks you to step inside and let yourself become part of it. The more you wander, the more the house draws you deeper into its spell. A gallery lined with paintings invites you to pause, each canvas like a window into another world. Some portraits hold the gaze of figures who seem to be watching you back, their eyes painted with such care that you wonder if they know you are there. Others show landscapes of places you may never see in reality, but feel as though you have walked into them by simply looking. The dreamlike quality intensifies here because you are surrounded by worlds within worlds, each one layered on top of the one you are already living. Even the sound of your own footsteps becomes part of the enchantment. On marble, they echo like soft music. On rugs, they vanish into silence, leaving only the rhythm of your breath. You notice how different textures underfoot change not only the feel of walking but the mood of each space, and it is in these tiny shifts that the dream expands further. The mansion does not just surround you. It guides you, coaxing you to notice, to feel, to immerse yourself in the details that make the place alive. Looking upward, the ceilings tower high, painted with visions of skies that seem endless, clouds drifting in delicate swirls across expanses trimmed with gold. It feels as though the ceiling is not a barrier, but an invitation to imagine beyond, to dream upward without limits. You tilt your head back, letting your eyes follow the sweep of color, and the feeling that washes over you is one of weightlessness, as though the dream itself is lifting you higher than you thought possible. Every doorway you pass through feels like another step deeper into something fantastical, yet it all remains tangible, solid beneath your touch. Your hand slides along a railing, cool and smooth, and the physicality of it grounds you even as your mind drifts further into wonder. That balance between the real and the imagined is what makes stepping inside so powerful. It allows you to exist in both worlds at once, your body rooted in the present while your heart soars in the dream. By the time you have explored more of the mansion, the sensation has woven itself so deeply into you that it becomes difficult to separate yourself from it. The glow, the grandeur, the quiet beauty, and the sense of walking through living history all blur together into something larger. Something that feels less like visiting a house and more like stepping into a vision that was always waiting for you. Each corridor, each chamber, each corner reminds you that you are not merely looking. You are part of it now, moving through a dream that has opened its doors to you and invited you to wander.